Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. Today we're going to make an arrangement that's going to be for a funeral. They asked that it be made in a container, so that's exactly what we're doing. These are some new containers that we just got in. It's actually a plastic type container. It's an urn. That's really a great price. So this little urn retails for 10 bucks. And so I have added some fresh floral foam, and I've kind of wedged it in with some small pieces of another piece of foam. And I filled my reservoir with water. I'm going to take a little bit of waterproof tape, and I'm going to tape my foam into place. So I am going to, let's see, I'm just going to flip that tape right up underneath that lip, come across the top, tear it, and just glue it tape it really well. And then I'm going to come right across the front. It's always so important, guys, that you tape down your mechanics. You don't want your flowers to fall apart. So it is very important that you make sure it stays together. Okay, so our foam is in place. I'm going to tuck my tape right into my drawer. The first thing I'm going to do, and I kind of go between of whether I green it out first or I add my flowers first. I'm going to add a little bit of jade, which is a type of palm, to my container first. So I'm just going to take it. I'm going to take my floral knife, cut that stem at an angle, and I am going to go all the way around the base of this arrangement with this jade. And so I'm just stripping off the bottom leaves. Now you do not have to strip off the bottom leaves. You can absolutely use those and cut it in half. Some of these just don't look so great, so I'm just stripping them off. And some of these are smaller, so I'm just kind of going throughout that foam. I'm just adding a little foliage all the way through. Okay, so this one I cut in half. So I just cut it right in half. So I'm able to use it in two separate insertions. And if you can do that, definitely do it because it makes your money go further. So there is our jade in our arrangement. So I've just greened it out all the way around. Next we are going to come in with a little bit of spiral or baby blue eucalyptus. I'm going to slide this over just a smidge. Step to the side so you can see me. So this is called baby blue eucalyptus or spiral eucalyptus. I'm going to take and strip that foliage off the bottom of the stem, cut it at an angle, and I am going to use it for some height in this arrangement. Now let me tell you that when you go to strip that foliage off that stem, it's a little sticky, it's a little sappy. So just be careful. Some people are allergic to the sap of eucalyptus. Like my sister Robbie, she breaks out because of the sap of eucalyptus. So just a warning. You want to be a little careful. There is our greenery in our container. I do have some seeded eucalyptus we'll use at the end, but there is our pretty greenery. Next we're going to come in with some line flower. So the first line flower we're going to use is blue delphinium. So we have beautiful blue delphinium that we're going to use. And we're going to start with our tallest piece first. I'm going to take my floral knife, cut that stem at an angle, and tuck that right into the top of that arrangement. And then we're going to come all the way around, adding our blue delphinium out the top. So for this arrangement, they specifically asked for blue and white flowers. And so that's exactly what we're going to give them, is some pretty blue and white flowers. All right, so there's our blue delphinium in the top of that arrangement. Next, we're going to come in with some white stock. So we have some pretty blooms of white stock. Stock comes in lots of colors, and it smells so pretty. So I am just going to take this stock and I am going to cut it at an angle. Stick it over here. I'm going to cut it at an angle, and I'm removing any of the blooms that might not look so great. Just go ahead and pop those off. Just tucking them right into that floral foam. Now you want to be sure that you're sticking it pretty deep down into that foam. We need to make sure that it's going to stay in place. Funeral arrangements often get moved a lot. So they go to the funeral home and then they get moved to the church, and they get moved a lot. So you need to make sure that they're going to stay together. This is really one of those arrangements that needs to be put together the very best that you make them. Okay? It needs to be well put together because it's moved so often. And so I am just taking this stock and going around, all the way around in this arrangement, and just adding this pretty white stock. Ooh, I broke that stem. I'm just going to tuck it deep. I have one more stem. Okay, so there is our white stock. Next, we're going to come in with some pretty white mums. So we have some really pretty white mums. They're really in the cremone family. So mums come in two different styles often. So they come in like a single bloom mum, which is usually the larger size mum, or they come in more of a spray. And a spray would be what we would consider daisies. And I'm actually going to show you some in just a minute. Some daisies. But this is a single mum. Now what I love about this type of cremone or this disc bud is that it looks a whole lot like a dahlia. And so that's always nice. Dahlias are more expensive flowers. But the only problem with dahlias, as nice and beautiful as they are, they're not really, really hardy flowers. So they don't hold up just really, really well for long periods of time. But mums hold up for a long time. So I think that they're a wonderful flower to use, especially for a funeral. Most often here in Mississippi, our funerals are at least 2 days. So we will deliver flowers to we'll deliver flowers to the funeral home for a viewing, which will be held one day, and then the second day will be the funeral itself that will be often held at a church. All right, so there's our pretty mums all the way around. Next, we're going to come in with some roses. So I have some large, really pretty white roses. So these white roses are, I'm not exactly sure the variety of these roses, but it's just a really pretty snow white rose. Just a pretty rose. I'm going to grab some wire in my little drawer. So I'm taking this rose and a piece of florist wire, and I'm pressing right into the calyx of that rose. I'm just pressing that wire right into that calyx. And let me tell you what's very important. I can't get get you to see me. What's really important is that you remove any petals that are bumped or bruised. So very often you're going to see on a rose that it has an outer petal that may not be as pretty as the other petals. It may have a different variegation. Well, the reason is it is called a guard petal. So it's a petal that is actually made specifically to guard that rose, to care for the other petals in that rose. And I just threw one on the floor. So you will want to pull that petal off most often, and go ahead and remove any of the petals that don't look the prettiest. That way you don't have any bumps or bruises on those roses. You want them to be as pretty as can be when the flowers are delivered. Ooh, and these have some thorns. So what I do to remove thorns is I just take my floral knife. I go ahead and slide that right down that stem and remove those thorns. Now, I personally prefer using a knife over like a thorn stripper. Thorn strippers are often, bless you, they are often little metal, it's a little metal tool, and it has like, I don't know, like little barbs like this. And you pull it down that stem and it strips that stem of all those thorns. Now, the only problem with that is when it strips those thorns, it also damages that stem. And with it damaging that stem, it lessens the life of the rose. And the reason I say that is because the rose is working so hard to try to repair that damage that it doesn't care for the bloom itself. It wants to work too hard to repair damage. So I don't like using them. So I just use a little floral knife and I just pop those thorns right off. Now I choose to wire these little heads because these heads are heavy, and if a flower does not get quite enough water, the stem becomes kind of how do I say, limp. It doesn't have enough strength to hold that head, and so I like to wire a rose for that reason specifically. Okay. Remove those thorns. I'm going to cut that stem at an angle just like that, and I am just going to add it right into my arrangement. The heads on these roses are so large and pretty. They smell nice too. Again, we're just going around in this arrangement and adding these roses throughout the arrangement. All right, so there's our roses. Okay, here come some daisies. So these are called yin yang daisies. Now I love the fact that these little daisies have dark centers. They're just pretty. They remind you a little bit of an anemone. So white anemones often have that little dark center. So the dark center kind of reminds me of an anemone. They're not as fragile and they're not as big, but I think it's just the color of the center that reminds me of them. I'm going to take, so these are not a traditional daisy. Their blooms are a little smaller than a traditional daisy. I'm just going to take those stems and we're going to use this little yin yang daisy kind of as a filler flower. We're just going to go throughout this arrangement and just fill in any empty space that might be in the arrangement. And I'm removing some of this foliage just because it's not necessary and some of it's broken. And I'm just pressing those stems deep down into that foam. All right, so the last thing we're going to do for this pretty arrangement is we're going to add some eucalyptus. So you've seen me use one variety of eucalyptus. We use the silver dollar euc, not silver dollar. I am so wrong. That is spiral eucalyptus. It is not silver dollar. So we use some spiral eucalyptus. We use some jade. Next, we're going to use some seeded eucalyptus. Now, I love seeded. I love the fact that it gives us a lot of movement in our arrangement. You see how it has such a pretty movement? It has really pretty texture also. Now, with this type of greenery, you can take it and pop it in pieces and tuck it throughout. You can hit that foam, there we go. Or you can even take the whole stem, break that, and tuck an entire stem in. But see how much movement that gives that arrangement? It really is such a pretty foliage. So this one had a pretty good piece. And I like to use the eucalyptus as a filler flower also. I mean, you know, kind of a filler. So I did not have any white filler, and this arrangement specifically they asked for blue and white flowers, and so I think this eucalyptus does exactly what we needed it to do to kind of fill in some space. And there is our finished blue and white arrangement. The flowers that we used include so the foliage includes the spiral eucalyptus or baby blue euc. It includes jade and then seeded eucalyptus. The flowers include blue delphinium, white stock, white disc buds. It's a mum. White yin yang daisies, white standard roses. And that's it. And it is so pretty. Guys, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. If you have any questions about how we do things here at our shop, you know you can certainly ask in the comments. We are so happy to answer any questions. I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you have not already subscribed to our channel, please hit that little subscribe button down below. And that way, every time we come on, you'll know we have a video. If you'll hit that bell, it'll give you notifications. Guys, y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you real soon. Thank you so much.